Chasing summer nights by the water, love on fire, counting sunsets till the time that we know all this will be alright. So hold me through the storm, and when we can't find the sun, I know we'll wait to find a better days. When all the light is gone and the night has been too long, I know we'll wait and find our better days wherever we go. So hold me through the storm, and when we can't find the sun, I know we'll wait to find the better days. When all the light is gone and the night has been too long, I know we'll wait and find our better days wherever we go.
You were my sun, you were my earth, but you didn't know all the ways I loved you, no. So you took a chance and made other plans, but I bet you didn't think that they would come crashing down, no. You don't have to say what you did, I already know. I found out from him, now there's just no chance for you and me. There'll never be, and don't it make you sad about it? You told me you love me, why did you leave me all alone? Now you tell me you need me, when you call me on the phone. Girl, I refuse, you must have me confused with some other guy. I'm not like them, baby. The bridges were burned, and now it's your turn to cry me a river, to cry me a river, cry me a river, you cry me a river. You don't have to say what you did, I already know. I found out from him, now there's just no chance for you and me. There'll never be. And don't it make you sad about it? You told me you love me, why did you leave me all alone, all alone? Now you tell me you need me, when do you call me on the phone? When you call me on the phone, girl, I refuse. You must have me confused with some other guy. I'm not like them, baby. The bridges were burned, and now it's your turn to cry. So cry me a river. You 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 cry me a river.
You are nothing but a stranger, then turn out to be my savior.
So we're going to get started shortly. For the delegates that are here, make sure you sign in. We're going to get started shortly. Like 1 minute shortly. Huh?
When you left without warning, never meant to cause you heartache, yeah. You're much more than just somebody, yeah. Somebody, yeah. I think I can get closer to you. I think I can get closer to you. I couldn't get closer, closer, closer. Closer to you. I think I can get closer to you. I think I can get closer to you. I couldn't get closer, closer, closer to you. I've been on a deep end, been looking for a reason to keep going through the seasons till I found you. Get it on the weekend, stuck in a little situation. When you play in your temptation, what do I do? Wishing I'm pulling away, yeah. A piece of an angel in front of ya. Just give me a chance, anything for ya, anything for ya. Why do we forget all our troubles just to breathe? Get another reason just to breathe. Forget all our troubles just to breathe. Get another reason just to breathe. Just to breathe. Just to breathe. Just to breathe. Touching on your body. No, it's not for everybody. No, no. Can't say I'm really sorry. No replacing you. Wishing I'm pulling away, yeah. A piece of an angel in front of ya. Just give me a chance, anything for ya, anything for ya. Why don't we forget all our troubles just to breathe? Get another reason just to breathe. Forget all our troubles just to breathe. side, holding you tight. Now the world is alright.
So good morning, everyone. We're going to get started shortly as soon as yeah, okay. So we're going to start with the drum song. We can't start with him, he's over there. If we can't start, he's over here. Martha's laughing at me because I was laughing at my own jokes. No. I was telling the government people, the government and the industry and all those people can leave and close the door on your way out. People first started laughing. I said I could have been nasty and said, don't let the door hit you on your way out. Okay.
Okay, so
This is how
I
your thing is gonna be.
yeah, I'm probably gonna forego doing my. I gotta talk with Alvin, and I don't know if Mike is going to speak.
If we could all stand. And a nice Spence is going to do the opening prayer.
Väkisikisen päästikan. Ja kun hoittakaa nakkumainen, kisemän toisnikkaasut. otas nikkaasuin, mutta mä näkäkänään sitä jack. Ja otas nikkaasuin heti kimmäjänä. Ja kun tässä pitkittiin tämän, sen ikäni sitten haki semmeltu. Taas kotpeisi kun sen ikäni kun chunhaita, sen voi puhupeisi kun käsitek mie. Kitsinen taivasta hoitte, kitsinen taivasta. Ja me peisi kun kitsinen taivasta, näin haan. Me on niinkin kitsinen tumankin, kitsinen tumankin. Uwe käisessäänkin. Kaanhaan koot nipuaisessakin. Nipu kaanhaan. Vinkä sanelun. Viisin kiinin että kajaa toissa. Kaikki näkäni kootumaan maailma. Vinkä sannekin taun. Uskoin taun. Kakan opmentaa. Ei kuppaa teinin vaat. Vinkä kuppaa teinin mukiskam. Niin maat nipuu. Muut siikon jäkenin. Kaupmako. Kekun kainin tamuat. Muut se pakostan tumankin hoin. Vuotti kikkakö. Tikkään tumankin vanhaasi. Ainikin tuottaman. Vuokaisessaan. Ei kikkään taakkuin hyö. Kekon niinkään tuotsikämähkineen. Ei aamakahkineen. Naakahkineen. Kekon niinkään tuotsikämähkineen. Sitten kikkakeikkeen teattevan jonkun kuvakaan, niin mekin siakkaan sitä kikkakeikkeen teattevan. Ainin keikisi, kaikki pystyt toinkin, ja noin onkä käisessä vaskaata se ikätä. Minä se kaikki näin, muutenkin niin antas kietoa teatteen voi. Me puhuisin tekutus teatteen, huokaatas senkin, se kaikki kentämän jäi. Kaffitsaanum stenke. Vinjaanum. Ja kaisessa otikana koassakin. Ja otetaan mua. Kämetnumaat. No, jos on jäänyt nukkaan. Kaiken tottamuot. Minä jäisessä. Sun jääkään tottamuot. Kävi jo tahtamuot sen kekana hafistaan. Missä ei sivukasteen muinkin. Tsyikkäkö kentäjättei kuivat maat kentäjättei vanhaa sokaisessaan koi. Minä edes penääni ja keikki tuon. Eikä toskin jääin avuspaadrikki tuon. Kaivotti vuosi ja eikki. Eikä tos niin. Mutta niin keikki tuon. Mä en lähen katsoa. Neljä esimerkiksi. Mutta näin siis on käyttöön. Ja teikitään sinä tekitäs nikään sun. Ja tuokemaan hanke teotet suunnitelta teettämään. Ja teittoa sieltä taaskin taas kotkitsekin sinun. Niin näemmät kaikki sielläkin maat siellä. Voi ventämään aikana niitteen ei syö ventämään kotikin. Ainakaan tuote. Eikä on näkötä tämänkin se kotsikään. Vaikka mitään ylöstään tekemään. Voisi saakin nikittävän edes lukemaan. Nettäkäskevan. Nettäkitteen taas on. Kaikkeen, mistä kaikkeen. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
Miigwech to the drum for their beautiful song, and miigwech to our elder for the beautiful prayer. So we're just going to do just a very quick summary of yesterday. Day 1 began with the drum and grand entry. Opening prayer by David Fletcher. Welcoming remarks were made by the host chief, Michelle Solomon. And there was an acceptance of the chairs, and then there was an opening address by Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler, and also an address to the chiefs by Regional Chief Glenn Hare. Resolution 2402, the adoptions of rules and procedures was accepted. The agenda was reviewed, and there were a number of changes and additions and concerns that were brought up from the Chiefs Forum. namely that of the extension of time for the Chiefs Forum to give the Chiefs an opportunity to bring their concerns to the floor. Then there was an in-camera session, a presentation on the treaty presentation by Fiddler and Grand Chief Fiddler and also Luke Hunter. And there was a number of items talked about in that in-camera session. After the in-camera session, there was a presentation on the housing and infrastructure, the many items that are under Mike McKay's purse to deal with. And there will be resolutions presented to give mandate for him to continue the work of those items. And then finally, we finished off with the day with another in-camera session on the work of the governance committee. It was an update, and we adjourned at 6. So that was just a quick summary of yesterday. So in the slated agenda for yesterday, we were not able to complete 2 items. So what we're doing this morning, because there is a certain time allotted for the presentation from the police, what we're going to do is start off the day with the presentation on education, economic development, and environment, which will take us right to 10:30, where we're going to go right into policing, and we'll move items down as much as to accommodate the agenda, to accommodate the 2 items that we didn't finish yesterday. So with that, we're going to get right into today, and at this time I'd like to call up Deputy Grand Chief Victor Linklater to give his presentation on economic development and environment. And our goal today is to get back on schedule. Deputy.
Yeah, good morning, chiefs, delegates, advisory councils, and people online. We're actually going to start off with education jurisdiction, and then we'll go to economic development, just to let you know. It was a good day of meetings yesterday. I want to give a quick shout out to the ladies from the Ojibwe Cree Center that are just in the lobby there. And when we talk about education, we can't forget about language and culture. And, they contain so much knowledge with those interviews with our elders, translated in all 3 dialects. So I encourage the chiefs and the people sitting in the assembly, to reach out. Those online, you could go onto their website, because when I looked at, just listened to the discussion yesterday, one of the things as leaders is you have to have a vision for your people. And we always want to put things in little boxes, but you know what, as our worldview, our values are different, and we have to be mindful of that. So in everything I do, it has to be child-centered, family-focused, and rebuilding community. And that falls within education, economic development, health, social, whatever things that we do, it's always for our people and for a better future. So we'll get right at it. I know we're a few hours behind from yesterday. I'd like to welcome Adam. He's here. He went from the screen to here. That's the joy of technology, right? So, and Connie did forgive him, so we can move on. It's going to be a good day, right? So we want to bring up jurisdiction this morning. I do have 2 presenters. I have Derek Chum, who's from Moose Cree First Nation, and I got Erickson Owen from Poplar Hill over here that's going to present. And to me, it's very important that our presenters are from our citizenship, and because they get to speak to you as leaders, and we have to celebrate our own. We don't do enough celebrating. We have come a long way in 30 years. So education is growing up. My parents, who never finished high school or elementary school, they really pushed education on us. He says, to improve the lives of our people, he says, you'll need to get educated. We learn in their system so that we could actually build our own. And, that's what jurisdiction's about. We got to take back what's ours. So we'll go right into the presentation. I'll ask Derek to come. and Erickson.
Thanks, Victor. Excuse me. Is this, will that advance the slides?
That's a good question.
Let's try.
Just try it and somebody will know.
Okay, no, that's not gonna work.
How do we work the clicker?
Do you know how to move the slides?
Which
Hey,
button?
Erickson, how are you? Here we go. All right, technical difficulties. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, chiefs, and everyone here online in person. Happy to be here. Thank you for the introduction, Victor. I want to talk about education jurisdiction, and it's a high-level overview I want to share with you today. And you know, jurisdiction basically means moving First Nations, moving on from the Indian Act and exercising jurisdiction for ourselves in a First Nation controlled education system. So we're going to talk about jurisdiction itself. For those interested First Nations, what is required of you to move ahead. I want to talk about the territory-wide education body, a new entity that's being created, and the work of NAN as we move forward here. So there is some history to this. You'll see here that this goes back, the work we're doing today goes back to 1999, when NAN signed a framework agreement with Canada. That was a non-binding agreement to explore jurisdiction in a number of sectors. Move forward to 2018, a lot of time went by. In 2018, an agreement in principle was signed again between NAN and Canada that really focuses on jurisdiction over education. The agreement in principle, again, non-binding, but sets out a commitment for the parties to negotiate a binding agreement. And that's the work that I've been doing with the NAN education team since August of 2020. So we are in the negotiation and community readiness phase at this point, meaning that we are negotiating with Canada on the jurisdiction agreement itself, and I can report that we are substantially done that work now. We have 2 chapters left to go, and those will continue to take some time. And you can see on the graph here, or the picture, that we are working towards community ratification and implementation. So to get us to the point of community ratification, we're going to need participation from the communities that are interested in moving forward. So I know I've got a little bit of time here. I don't want to take up too much, but we are also have a booth outside to talk further about this, but I do want to talk a bit about what jurisdiction looks like and what it is we're working towards. So the system we're looking to build here, again, is a First Nation controlled education system made up of 3 levels. The first level is the communities. So each of your communities, or those that are interested in the system, you will continue to run your education, your schools and your programs as you do today. You'll manage your schools, you'll have your own education law, and you'll have the freedom to develop your culturally appropriate curriculum like language and land-based learning. The second tier in this 3-tier framework is support services. These are services that are out there today. And you can think of it like a school board. In the provincial system, second-level services are provided by school boards. So we don't have school boards right now in our communities. You receive your funding from the government, you run your programs. You're kind of on your own. Second-level services are there to provide support for schools, for kids. We use here the example of a speech therapist. That's a service you can bring into your classroom, to your school as needed. And those services, again, will be available in this new First Nation controlled system. And so that's the second level. The third level in this 3-tier framework is new, and that's what we're calling in the agreement the territory-wide education body. And you can think of this body like a school board. And it is there to set standards that will apply to your schools in terms of curriculum, like reading and numeracy. And it'll also be there to distribute funding to your schools. It could also deliver second-level services as well. And as a participating First Nation, your community will have the opportunity to select the board that will govern this education body. So that's what the system looks like. That's what we've been negotiating with Canada to build. So like I say, we've got the agreement that sets out that structure now. But what we need to do now is really pivot our focus to the communities. We need to work with your community to build an understanding around the agreement, to understand what it means for your communities and for your kids. So the next steps, if you're interested, if your community is interested in moving forward, I would ask that you contact the NAN Education Jurisdiction Manager. Like I said, we've got a table out there. The manager, his name is Brian Achnepaniscum from Martin Falls. And we'd be happy to visit your community, make presentations to your council, to your educators, your education directors, and to your members. Also, in order to move forward, we will need to have you share your education data with the NAN negotiation team. And the reason we need this is we need to be armed with this data at the negotiation table with Canada. And that'll support our fiscal discussions as we move ahead. As well, in working with the NAN education team, we'll help you develop a local education code, work towards ratifying the education agreement and your code, and talk about the participation and governance of the body. So your local education code, this is something your community will need to develop, and it's basically something you will create and ratify, so your community will vote on this too. And it's basically a First Nation law that will set out the responsibilities and accountability for education delivery in your community. So that'll be your first law as it pertains to education. Again, another next step for your community, if interested, is to work with NAN and Brian's team here to hire a community-based coordinator. Basically, this is a resource that NAN is making available to communities to hire somebody in your community to engage with your members, to build an understanding around the agreements and the implementation plan, and to work on developing your code, and to work towards ratification. So that's a resource that's available. Please come talk to Brian outside here in the hallway, and we can tell you more about it. So the new entity, the new creation here coming out of this agreement is the territory-wide education body. Again, we can look at this body like a school board. It'll have those functions to set standards and that apply to curriculum and school operations. So this new body is going to be overseen by the participating First Nations. This is not a NAN thing. This is going to be run by the communities who join this system. It will also receive its own funding, separate and apart from the funding your communities will receive for schools and education services. One of the reasons we need to do more engagement with communities is we need to understand what this body will look like. We need to identify roles and responsibilities for it. So we want to work with the communities to get their feedback and use that feedback to build out the territory-wide body here. So again, it'll set standards and distribute funding and could provide second-level services for students, teachers, and schools. So this body will also have jurisdiction. There are two jurisdiction bodies recognized here, each participating First Nation and this body. Basically, the jurisdiction the body will have relates to standards, developing standards around curriculum, school operating standards, assessment tools, diploma requirements, etc. They're all listed here in this, on this presentation, copies of which we have at the table out in the hallway. And again, during the consultation phase, engagement phase, we want to begin developing those policies and guidelines that will be used by the territory-wide body. So for NAN still has some work to do as well. We're going to continue negotiations and work on community engagement. So like I say, we have reached substantial completion on the education jurisdiction agreement. We've taken what was in that agreement in principle from 2018 and have negotiated with Canada a final legally binding agreement, which we now want to begin sharing with the communities through community engagement sessions. This is all optional for communities. You're not forced to join. You're not being, we're asking you to learn more about it and decide for yourselves if you're willing to participate. In parallel, we'll be continuing negotiations with Canada on the fiscal agreement. This is the money, right? So we're going to have the structure created, and in the fiscal agreement, we'll have the money to give life to this structure. The other thing we're negotiating now is an implementation plan. How do we take this agreement and roll it out in your communities? And our work today going forward is really to identify and work with interested communities to assist them within community engagement on the agreements, develop your local education codes, and work towards ratification. So that's the work ahead for NAN. again, it's up to the communities here. If communities don't come forward, nothing happens, right? It'll be status quo. And maybe that's good enough for your community, but that's not what we're hearing. So I would urge you to reach out to our group out in the hallway to learn more about this. Happy to come visit. We need to move ahead with a group of communities willing to do so to get us to the point of ratification. Again, this is non-binding at this point. It's up to your community to demonstrate interest and invite us out. So in the meantime, we will continue to engage with the Chiefs Committee on Education, the NAN Education Committee, the NAN advisory groups. We'll reach out to them for feedback as we move ahead, feedback on agreements, engagement materials, and the implementation plan. We'd like your community to be a part of that as well. So please reach out. We would love to hear from you and work with you. So that's sort of a highlight presentation on education jurisdiction. Happy to answer questions either now or after Ericsson's presentation. We'll also be out in the hallway too if you have questions. Thanks. Next. Thanks, Eric.
Hello, my name is Erickson Owen. So I think today you may notice I'll be wearing some earphones as I sit at my table, and the reason for that is I had some hearing troubles because I was sitting next to the speaker all day yesterday. I think it got pretty loud, and I kept mishearing my friends. Yeah, I kept mishearing what they were saying, and I was wondering why. I think it was the speaker, so I'm gonna be wearing earphones. It's not that I'm listening to music though. It's just I'm covering my one ear. I think it was my left ear. I think it popped a few times. So anyways, I'm gonna get started. Bonjour, Nishnikaz Erickson Owen. Ndunji, Ubazati Kang, Nishnapish, Kaz Wapshkima Ingan, Shikumus, Ndudam. Mimandia, Unji, Nishnapi Askination, Shkajazik, Okimakanak. Co-chair, Mandapi Unji. Health transformation kashkadik shkui nijin manda education kashkadik yaki nui mamkwe mai abejik ma youth rep ka yach ma gewin portfolio inkin bach unje kanawapa win manda wapakung online ishkazo teya kwachikan gewin co-chair od shkuin gewin mamanat bit at portfolio ma education kashkadik. So anyways, hello, my name is Erickson Owen. I'm from Poplar Hill First Nation. My spirit name is White Wolf, and I am part of the Moose Clan. I am a member of the NAN Youth Council as well, and I am the co-chair, and I sit on the Health Transformation Portfolio and Education as my secondary. And I want to also acknowledge the fellow youth rep on this portfolio as well. I believe she is joining in from online. Her name is Teya Kwachigan. She is also co-chair and is the primary portfolio holder on education in the Youth Council. Anyways, I've been asked to come up and speak on the community visit we conducted in Martin Falls back in November 2023. I'm just going to give a brief history as well. So in the Youth Council, there was a portfolio shuffle when we welcomed four new members into the council, and my secondary changed to education. And I was fortunate enough to be invited and to participate in an education jurisdiction meeting in Winnipeg, Manitoba on November 9, 2023. I just remember feeling so welcomed and intrigued. I liked the topics. And but anyways, during the meeting there was talks of a community visit the next week in Martin Falls, and we asked that if we could be part of that, and they said yes right away, which was very exciting. So it was just next week. I was able to go, but the primary portfolio holder was unable to go because she was busy with other commitments. But anyways, we flew into Martin Falls, and as soon as we landed, I began asking the driver, which is the school principal who gave me a ride to the place where we were staying, questions. I was curious about the differences we had, like gas prices, population, the language spoke there, stuff like that. But the work we did a lot of preparation to make sure the community engagement was a success. Brian Echny-Penescom and myself, we went around and handed out flyers to people's houses, house to house. It was nice. It was nice. We did a lot of walking and some driving to make sure everyone knew. I believe they did some online engagement as well on Facebook, public posts, because everyone's on Facebook, right? Yes. Anyways, some highlights for me was going to individual houses and handing out flyers. The reason for that was because I noticed houses there in Martin Falls, they look so amazing. It was so great to meet and engage other community members as well, and just see the differences that we all have. We all have unique things that we excel at, things that we lack, all that stuff. Yeah. But anyways, the community engagement session was successful. Derek Chum did a wonderful job on his presentation for the people, and there was one elder there who spoke Ojibwe, which was great. I got to speak to her because I also speak Ojibwe very fluently. Anyways, we did a lot of helping. I helped a lot with setup and cleanup, registration, and we did a couple draws for a few prizes as well. So I was helping with distributing tickets after people registered. And we also did some surveys as well afterwards, which people filled out based on what they understood and felt about education jurisdiction. And I believe it was a good turnout as well. Yeah, and another thing we were hoping to do was do some home visits, but we weren't able to do that because I think it was the travel day. That's something we could do as well when we're in your communities, is do some home visits, just for people that are unable to come to the community engagement session, or if they want a more in-depth presentation as well. And we were unable to present to the local leadership as well, because I believe they were out of community at the time. So we just did a engagement session with the community, but it still turned out good. But anyways, my favorite part of the whole community visit was when I was personally invited to the local school by the principal, because he had heard about my achievements in high school, and I happily accepted, and Brian gave me his blessing to go and speak to the school and to the kids. I was able to share my story with at least 6 classes. I spoke to them and I motivated them, but that to me was a big highlight. Yeah, so it was nice to be recognized in a community, different community, and I'm happy to do all that again. But anyways, moving forward, we're asking for the chiefs to invite us, the education jurisdiction team, to come to your communities to present to your chiefs and council, your education authority, and your community, most of all, to engage the people. Yeah, that's it for my presentation. Yeah. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Erickson. Derek, we do have a resolution on the floor that we would like passed, and it's basically just to actively support for community engagement phase of education jurisdiction. It's been an ongoing process, but you know what? We could see the light at the end of the tunnel, even though the process has been going on a while. It's a pretty exciting place. Yesterday we talked about the treaty right for education. We talked about language, culture, be immersed about our own laws. This is an opportunity for us to actually build something that's truly yours. And, education, the chief from Fort Hope is here. The tragedy is he lost his school, but moving forward, when those fiscal arrangements come down the pipe, we should be able to build a school with all the resources that we have. Because sometimes we're lacking. We don't have everything the provincial schools have. We don't have those supports. Autism is on the rise. We have challenges when it comes to EAs and those specialty services. This is an opportunity to actually negotiate all that. So we do have the resolution. I don't know if Derek wants to present the resolution here, and then we'll take a vote on it, I guess. If that works. Right. Don't just pause. Does the chair do it? Okay, the chair do it. Okay.
Perfect.
And if you have any questions,
Okay. So if we can have the resolution on the screen, please. It's not numbered. I brought my Kokum glasses this morning, so I couldn't see anything yesterday. Okay, so we're waiting for it to be on the screen. It's 24 dash, there'll be a number assigned. And the resolution says active support for the community engagement phase of education jurisdiction. Can you wait till we put it on the screen? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get into the therefore. Therefore, be it resolved that the NAN Chiefs in Assembly reaffirm our commitment to actively support the process of education jurisdiction for those First Nations who are eligible and wish to participate in the process. Further, be it resolved that the Chiefs in Assembly affirm our support of NAN in their efforts to hold meaningful community engagement with those communities interested in moving forward to the next stage of jurisdiction process. Finally, be it resolved that the implementation of this resolution shall be without prejudice to any education process being undertaken or considered by First Nations, tribal councils, district organizations, and education service organizations. Dated this 7th day of February 2024, moved by Chief Bruce Niskam, and he's there, and Chief Russell Wesley, and he is present. Does the mover have any comments on the resolution?
Bonjour. Thank you, Chair. I'd like to just make my comments brief. I'm a supporter of education and advancing education in our communities. I wanted to thank the youth representative and the team that visited our community. Fortunately, I was away due to a previous obligation, but I really heard it was a success, and I want to thank them for coming. Something that happened with our community in the past was, that as a lot of communities are, I feel that we are marginalized in terms of education, our true right to education, in terms of actual services that we should have. As it stands, we don't have those second or third level tier system services, like board level services, and that leads us to a great disadvantage at accessing resources, and also having the actual administration to assist our communities. So moving in this direction will enable us to actually have those services. And for Martin Falls, it's all about building our programs up, and having the actual resources. As you may know, we declared a state of emergency approximately 4 years ago due to the lack of capital infrastructure and funding we were receiving, leaving us at a critical disadvantage of administrating our actual programs, education programs, and curriculum at the school, and also other services like most of the elementary services, but also we're still lacking critical infrastructure like early childhood and daycare and those services. I think a lot more has to be put into the community to actually serve our membership, especially the children that are residing in the community with the education services that they're receiving right now. So a lot of work has been done. We're advancing due to the critical infrastructure that we received. And, a lot more work has to be done, so I'm on board with moving forward with this resolution and want to just say thank you. Migotch.
Thank you, Chief. Seconder, do you have any comments, Chief Wesley?
No, not at this time, but there's two L's in my name. I actually lost the resolution, so I'll save my comments if I have time later.
Okay, if you can make that change, it's 2 L's and he needs a copy of the resolution. I believe there was, the staff are handing it out now. All right, so thank you, mover and seconder. So the floor is now open for any additional comments on the resolution. The floor is open for additional comments on the resolution. Wait till they get it. One more we have. Comment? So a hard copy has been handed out. Did everybody get one? Everyone? Okay, so the floor is open for additional comments on the resolution. It's first call. First call. Second call for any other additional comments. Please state your name and community for minutes purposes.
My name is Donald Meekus. I'm a proxy for Port Tavern First Nation. I have a question. I have a question on the autonomy of the community. I was involved with the governance and education jurisdiction previous to my role, and we got community band council resolution supporting the move forward in negotiations. And I think most of our leadership had told us that how do we claim ownership to a process that happens so far away from our community. So I'm just wondering if there's going to be a community band council resolution that would support, ongoing whatever negotiations. Kini non go dancing nimna nagaka in guanga kogninga kauna stek una schön with the go kajak tigi un segban you're going to go wasage unga una stek tigi pizza degban ma ke kadana bien. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah, you're good.
All right, thanks for your question, Chief. I'll see if I can address what you're asking. So as we move ahead here, what we're trying to do is figure out, some of the details around what the system's going to look like, right? That includes things like, where will it have an office? NAN's a big footprint in Ontario. Does it make sense to have regional offices, one central office? Feedback we've received to date, people feel that there should be regional offices across the NAN territory. Where those are hasn't been decided. That these are decisions yet to be made, and these are answers that we'll be looking for as we go to communities and seek feedback. So some communities are remote, some are road connected, so every community has a different circumstance and perhaps a different view on these questions. So we have to work with all of those different views out there and, you know, come to a decision that makes sense for those who wish to participate. I'm glad to hear your community was on side earlier with the BCR, and we can certainly, you know, revive that, I'll say, and come and engage with your community again, I hope. But those are questions yet to be answered. And again, it underscores the importance of this engagement as we move forward. We need to hear voices like yours from your community so that the system works for you in the end. Without your participation, you may end up with a system that maybe doesn't work for you in the end, and you know that's not helpful. So it's a message for all communities here in this room is that we want to hear your voices to help build something that's going to work for you all. I hope that's helpful. Happy to pick up the discussion out in the hallway if you like to. Thanks.
Does that response address your concerns, that this is the beginning stages and the actual process will be when they start coming to the communities? Mia? Okay, all right.
Thank you, Chair. Jason Batiste, proxy, Chapel Ojibwe First Nation. Just I like the initiative. I think this has been going on since 2002, so I'm happy to see that the jurisdiction table is advancing. Question on community engagement. What resources are being provided to the communities to make sure that they're prepared? And how is there a budget for that, a work plan, or is that sort of the next immediate step after passing this resolution? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your question, Jason. So yes, there are resources available for each community that's interested in moving ahead. I mentioned one resource being the community-based coordinator. So there'd be funding for you to hire somebody in your community to work with the NAN jurisdiction team and to work with your education director, your leadership, to move the engagement forward in your community. The NAN jurisdiction team, we can't be everywhere at once, so we are going to rely on local resources in your community to help spread the message here. So yes, there is funding, Jason. There is, we can get an agreement going in place. We do have agreements in place with about, I think it's 15 communities at the moment. So we're looking to add more. Canada has provided funding for this to move ahead and is now providing, I guess, a new funding stream for this engagement process now that much of the negotiation piece is completed. Thanks for your question. Yeah, and look, we'll work with your CBC, your community-based coordinator, to develop a work plan that'll help us get to ratification. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So the floor is still open for any additional questions. It's pretty quiet in the room. Okay.
Good morning. Chief Batiste from Matakan First Nation. I guess, you know, listening to part of this presentation, it's a need for all our First Nation, especially with education, and, you know, it's amongst a bunch of other things as well. I guess the process, I guess what would like to know, how long is this process going to take before we get things done with it? You know, because it seems like we're coming to forums like this and, you know, passing resolutions and stuff like that, but we need to get it done. You know, it's a thing that our members need, or our kids, you know, it's our future. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your question. You know, I would agree with you, it has taken a long time. You know, the slide I showed talked about a framework agreement in 1999, right? That's 25 years ago. In that time, you know, we had an unfriendly government federally, so not much was accomplished there. But I can tell you, you know, since the AIP was signed in 2018, we've made pretty good progress, I would suggest. Now, to move forward, it's really up to the communities. This is where we're taking a pivot here, and this is where we need to work with the communities, like I said, to get feedback, to help build out this system, right? This is where you guys now are important. We've come a long way quickly, so I hand it to the communities to work with us and to help make this happen. And look, there are realities that we're up against, right? Elections, you know, that'll happen. So we got to keep that in mind. Will the next government be so friendly? Don't know. So we have a bit of time ahead of us, so we should make the most of it and get it as far as we can. And like I say, like I keep saying, this is where communities are important. Thanks.
Is there also going to be a standard grid across the territories, or is it going to be remote, you know, driven, or, you know, wherever we are? Is it going to be all the same?
Remote road access communities, all are welcome to participate. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. So slowly we're going to bring this to a close because we do have a dead start for 10:30, but we'll take a few more questions.
Bonjour, I'm Michael Sugarhead, Ogumakan of Neighborhood First Nation, and I just had a question about eligibility, and can we get like more of a description of communities who are eligible, because we are a settlement, and most of our funding comes from provincial, and so and we previously had some issues in this type of things, especially with Indian Day School. We weren't qualified to qualify for applications for some of the members there because we were looked at from provincial, and some of the older people that went to school elsewhere were eligible to apply for Indian Day School, but most of us, my generation, wasn't.
You know, one of the qualifying criteria, and we can talk about this a little further with your community in particular, but one of the qualifying criteria is to have a reserve base, reserve lands. So that applies to a lot of communities here, right? A lot of communities have that. I know we've chatted with your education director from your community, but that's not a question we addressed. So I made an assumption that they met that qualification. But for the other folks here in the room, if you're a NAN community with a reserve base, you know, you're eligible to participate. And we hope to hear from you, like I said, but I'm happy to have that discussion offline with you. Thanks. Yeah. I'll be here all day tomorrow, tomorrow, so I'll be around.
All right, thank you. So there's an opportunity to speak with him about your question, and he'll confirm. So there is also a table out in the hallway if you want to ask questions on the next process, on what is being spoken of in the resolution, is to give them that mandate to go to the next phase. So with that, I'd like to close off this part of the discussion so we can get into the last part of this presentation from DCG Linklater. So I don't see any more hands up. So what I'd like to do is call if there's any opposition to this resolution. Any opposition to this resolution? Let's see, none. Any abstentions? Any abstentions? See none. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, all right, thank you very much. Motion is carried. Thank you for the good work that you're doing. So I'll call back DC Linklater.
Yeah, there is a resolution. Just a short presentation on, we have a resolution that's going to hit the floor. We're going to talk about one of the things for economic development, and former Chief Constant was working on my staff on this file, which is pretty exciting. In our area of NAN, we have seen resource development. You know, we've seen the permanent system. We've worked in forestry, mining, all this other stuff, and to be quite honest with you, we've learned some tough lessons along the way. But we had to become experts when it came to the protections of our lands, and as people are, you know, trying to extract minerals from our territory, forestry, all this stuff. And but we always had this vision of how can we unite NAN to support each other in this development. The exciting thing for many of your First Nations as proponents are knocking at your door, you're getting pressure from government. We didn't have that luxury. It was forced upon us. You know, we talked about treaty yesterday. Chief Sherry talked about traplands. But we wanted to develop a center, sort of like a think tank institute, and we see them all across Canada. You know, we see it in BC, we see it in Quebec. We have different brothers and sisters across the country that would actually build an institute or a center that, let's say one of you need an economist, or let's say you need a certain skill set that, it's not easy accessible to us. There's always capacity issues. Like, how can we as a PTO NAN help you? The dangerous thing about this political climate that we're in is we made reference to it. We have a favorable government the last 8 years. But for those of you who remember when the Harper years were here, we got next to nothing for funding. Everything was cut back. It was a dark time in First Nation history. When we got this portfolio, one of the things I noticed is that NAN had a charity number. And in this charity number, I always felt, and we talked to Chief Jennifer on it, that we could utilize this charity number to get private funders, because everyone's coming to NAN as part of their truth and reconciliation how can we help? And we got some good allies out there. We got institutes like Laurentian University, Lakehead. We have Waterloo working with Six Nations. We have York School of Business that's just knocking on the door. He says, how can we help you? And one of the goals of this center is to actually, how can we bring that skill set and help our First Nations move their economic development projects and their initiatives forward? How can we save this environment? Climate change is a big thing. One of the pressing things that are coming up in this year especially is our winter roads. It's very likely we may lose our roads this week or next week, which is going to cause some turmoil for the transportation of goods, infrastructure, gasoline, all this stuff. So what we need to do is, I wanted to develop the center so we can actually address those issues. So we need sort of like an economic arm from the charity number to get this done. And we got to think outside the box, because I think within the next year and a half, to be quite honestly, I think there is going to be a change of government. And we have to be ready. Those service dollars, those funding dollars are going to be hard to come by. But we could be proactive, and we could actually fight this fight together. And sometimes, yesterday as I was listening to the treaty talk, we can't afford to do nothing. Our future generations are going to come to us and says, you guys were chiefs back then. What did you do to save the environment? What did you do to bring us out of poverty? Did you fight the government? Did you fight against proponents when they try to rape our land? There are many different views in that. right? There's many different challenges. But there is opportunity, whether you accept resource development or, use carbon credits, we still need to develop our economy. So if we are a nation, we have to pull together and fight for what's there and protect our future. And quite frankly, the world is changing. We as First Nations people, we are going to have to start competing globally. One of the things that excites me is, the opportunity for our nations to actually engage in tribal trade. We never recognize these borders. Chiefs of Ontario has a meeting coming up on how do we work with our brothers and sisters in the United States and on Turtle Island. These are the conversations that we need to have. The realities of our nations right now, we're dealing with suicides, we're dealing with overdoses. These are always happening, but we need economic development and innovative solutions to move forward. One of the things that we do need is you need to develop an economy. And, we could help one another. Some of our greatest challenges is that we tear down one another. We see it on the floor, we see it at the AFN, we see it in everything. And unless we unite as leaders, we'll be so fragmented that the government is going to have us, proponents are going to have us where they always wanted us. One of our leaders says, they are not our friends. It's always been about them taking our land, benefiting at our expense. That whole 50-50 conversation yesterday, they removed us from our land, so they knew where the resources were. But all that development is happening on our traditional lands. So, I have a resolution here. They did put up the wrong thing, so I'm sort of just ignoring that, but that was supposed to be a support. So we are looking to push a resolution here. It's self-explanatory. I know we're a little tight for time. We'll be here, but to me, I just want the chiefs in assembly to think outside the box. We could go after private funding, government funding. We could use our own experts, get the experts from the outside because there's some powerful allies, because we are in a battle. Climate change is upon us. You could feel it. I mean, we walk outside here. I don't even have my winter boots on. I don't have my winter coat on. I'm traveling around in running shoes. Why? Because we don't have a winter. That's going to affect us when we harvest our animals. It's going to affect the spring hunt this year, which is big in our area. They probably won't even have enough snow to make a blind. So challenges. But innovation. So we are looking to build something together. So we'll hand it back to Connie to go through the resolution, and if you have any questions, we're here to stand.
Okay, Miigwech, Deputy Grand Chief. So we do have the resolution. I'm not sure if it's been handed out. I got to make sure I have the right resolution here. It's numbered 2405. Okay, it's just being printed. So you don't have a copy. So I'll need to make sure that a copy is up on the screen so that you can follow on the screen. So I'm going to look to our technical staff. There it is. And even I can't read that, so we could zoom in. Normally, we would not read the entire resolution. Normally, we go to therefore be resolved, but since you have not seen the resolution and you do not have a copy in front of you, I will read the entire resolution. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fair to deal with a resolution without a copy in front of you. So if you can scroll back to the top, it's Resolution 2405. Hopefully you can see that. It's titled Anishinaabe Center for a Sustainable Future. That's the resolution, right, Deputy? Okay. So it reads, whereas climate change is having adverse impacts on First Nations communities through changes to the ecosystems and the environment that First Nations citizens depend on. Whereas the First Nations and Anishinaabe Nation, NAN, have observed impacts of climate change which have challenged their ability to practice sustainability. Whereas the NAN Chiefs and Assembly passed Resolution 1708, Climate Change, Carbon Credits and Offset Initiatives, and the NAN Economy, calling for the exploration of generating sustainable revenue for NAN First Nations associated with a new climate change mechanisms. Whereas Resolution number 1947, NAN Food Self-Determination, called for the Executive Council to advocate for sustainable funding to enable the development and implementation of collaborative and/or community-led food self-determination initiatives. Whereas Resolution number 835, Climate Change, called for the NAN Executive Council to advocate for the development of programs specific to First Nation communities to assist in their adaptation to the impacts of climate change. Whereas Resolution number 9348, Formation of Regional Economic Development Tools, called on the Executive Council to develop various economic tools specifically for the people of NAN. Whereas Resolution number 1521, Regional Participation in NAN Economic Development Priorities, called for the examination of regional, cooperative, and collective approaches to economic development. Therefore, be it resolved that NAN Chiefs and Assembly mandate the NAN Executive Council to initiate the development of the Anishinaabe Center for a Sustainable Future with the purpose of supporting sustainability initiatives by providing additional avenues for funding to assist NAN communities with sustainability initiatives and by providing research, training, policy support, policy and program development, project support, proposal development, and networking. Further, be it resolved that the proposed center is mandated to consider additional funding streams such as charitable giving, government funding, strategic partnerships, and social enterprise. Further, be it resolved that the Chiefs and Assembly mandate the Executive Council to create a Chiefs and Technicians Steering Committee to oversee the development of the center. Finally, be it resolved that the NAN Chiefs and Assembly mandate the Executive Council to begin planning for the upcoming Sustainable Economic Development Conference to be held in the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Dated at Thunder Bay, Ontario, the 7th day of February 2024. It is moved by Chief Jennifer Constant, who is present, and Chief Sherry Taylor, who is also present. So the resolution is before you. I believe that's the resolution just being handed out, but it is up on the screen, and I have read the entire resolution. Chief Constant, any comments to the resolution? Alan? Seconder, Chief Taylor? Yes.
Good morning. It's Chief Taylor from Ganugami. I just want to speak on behalf of the resolution presented, that it's important for us to have capacity, for us as First Nation leaders, our community, because a lot of times we're met with different tables that we may be sitting at in regards to negotiations. A lot of times as a First Nation leader, you're looking for experts. And it's so unfair at some of these tables we sit at. A lot of times you're sitting by yourself. And the people you're negotiating with have maybe about 5 to 10 experts sitting with them. So it's very lopsided, and this is where we need to make some changes. We need to be able to get the help that we need to build that capacity at our level. And it's important, I'm just going to give you guys an example of what's happened to us in our area. So we have a ESFL for the Kanagami Forest that both has First Nations and it has industry. But it's very lopsided. It's not 50-50 as they propose. It's very heavy industry. And this is where we need help. We need forestry advisors, we need experts to help us negotiate these agreements that come into place. Because the First Nations don't have that. And, you know, that leaves us vulnerable. So this is why I'm supporting this resolution. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Chief Taylor. So the floor is open. Any comments or discussion on the resolution before you? Proxy Batiste, did I see you? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Proxy Jason Batiste, Chapleau, Ojibwe. You know, previous resolutions do provide a broad mandate for NAN to do a bunch of things around sustainability, climate economy, and initiatives that I think the chiefs have wisely approved to move forward. And I did speak with Chief Constant, who, of course, my day job, and she's my employer in my day job at the Tribal Council. But my concern is this: I'm not sure what you're exactly asking for here. Sounds like a big institution to me. Sounds like a broad mandate to do a whole bunch and a whole host of things, including direct community service. I don't know what that looks like. Honestly, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying I would like to know in more detail than just the resolution that's on the table today about what the plan is. Because what you're asking for, honestly, is a very, very broad mandate to go get money to do things immediately and building this institution and provide that direct community service. Again, which may well all turn out to be something we need and we look for. But I think we need to, at least for me, and the advice that I would provide to the chiefs of the Waban Tribal Council is, we really need to understand this a little bit better about what this thing is meant to do. Like I say, there's already a host of things in the whereases that give you, NAN a mandate to do stuff. It's fine. This thing seems to go, quite a bit further in assuming a whole host of jurisdictions that I'd like to get more detail on, because all I see in here is sort of the one whereas paragraph, and that's simply not enough for me to say, yeah, go ahead and get it done. Miigwech.
Miigwech, Deputy Grand Chief.
Thank you for the question. So what we're looking at is resolution. It's a charitable arm with a social enterprise subsidiary. So we do have lots of resolutions when it comes to climate change, food security, and all this other stuff. Some of the and really it's to provide support services capacity for those nations that need it. In certain regions of NAN, you may not need those services. You may already have your experts. What I'm proposing is you take what you have learned and share it with all your brothers and sisters, nations at NAN. And, thinking about stuff like community practice, research best practices, support for projects located in communities. These treaty cases that we have, it gives us the opportunity through private funding for a rights defense fund. So, a lot of these things that come to NAN and you look for funding, even on that Métis case. Imagine if we had a institute or an arm that we could actually collect funds and say, you know what, let's help you, let's fight the Métis case together. Let's support our treaty fight together. So it does actually benefit all. And, I am looking for chiefs and technical people to sit on this committee so we could flush out some of the things, to review the resolutions, and actually just make it as a support services. And it's we have the opportunity to gather the data, and then we can all use that data for any proposal. So if a community needs proposal writing, it's my dream that, our chief could call NAN and say, you know what, I need help in this, and then, you build that skill set. But we'll never take away from First Nations and the work of tribal councils.
Miigwech. Proxy Batiste, your mic is still on. Is that a supplementary? No? Okay. Go ahead.
Moche. My name is Utah Horn, proxy for Missinabie Cree First Nation. I'm also Deputy Chief. I look back at the last 25 years that I've been actively engaged in our First Nations affairs and our struggles. And we saw the need many years ago because we were very concerned with sustainability, food security, the things that we need to support our communities. And we embarked in joining forces with many of the nations in our area to develop the North Superior Regional Chiefs Forum. We found working collectively to address the challenges that we had was a good way to go. And from that, we were dealing with all kinds of areas of mining, forestry, many different environment, economic development challenges. And we saw the need back then that we needed expertise because we didn't have it. So we formed this organization, this coalition, and from it we grew a center of excellence called Wakatoan. And that center became our forestry-based center of excellence. And in that center, we have individuals that are committed to doing exactly what was mentioned here, to carry out the research, to build the capacity, to advance the initiatives. Things that they're doing is advancing guardianship programming, stewardship initiatives on the land, things like that to protect our land and also to utilize it for our First Nations needs. So 25 years, I've not seen anything that has really remotely even surfaced to address these issues in our communities, and climate change is coming very quickly. I'm a harvester, I'm a hunter, and I go to the land very frequently to harvest for my family. And these are the tools that we need to be able to have the supports to establish our own community areas where we can house the things that we hunt, like storage facilities, hanging stations, where we can build the kitchens to go out and harvest and preserve the medicines and the mushrooms and the beautiful things that our land provides for our community. So this has worked out very well for us because we don't have to concern ourselves in our everyday activities of staying on top of what's going on in our backyard, because we have an organization that's dedicated to be those eyes and those ears, and that's Wakatoan for us. So I really see a need here. It's been very good for our communities, and certainly I see it really being a great benefit to the NAN communities to band together to invest in such a thing, because what have we got to lose at the end of the day? Again, miigwech.
Miigwech, Deputy Chief Horn, for those comments. Miigwech. Proxy Donald Mikas, did I see you make some movement? Yeah? No? You're good? Okay. That was just to put some food in your mouth. Proxy Frank McKay in the back.
Good morning, chiefs and delegates. I just got a few comments. I don't have any problems with the establishment of this initiative. I think we have to begin to explore ways in which we can reduce the cost of living at the community level. I know that we've been looking at greenhouse projects and also community gardening efforts that are done, that how we can continue to support those things in reducing cost of food at our community level. Right now, I think I get calls periodically from the elders in the north where they say food is too expensive. We have a food that's sold here in Thunder Bay and Solacot, that's this level, but it's sold way up at this level in our communities. We got to figure out a way how to lower the cost of food services in our communities so that our people can afford the groceries that they need and the supplies that they need at the community level. And I don't know what happened to the presentation in relation to the food security, but that's a thing that that we need to also look at. We have, I don't know if there's subsidies coming from the government in relation to the food security for our First Nations, and how does that impact? Or I don't think it has any impact at all if there is funding provided to all First Nations in relation to lowering the cost of food and groceries at our level in the remote communities. It still is pretty high. The price of gas is high, building supplies are high, and so forth. And I think it's an institute of some sort is established to continue to look at options and ways to alleviate the cost of living that's always on the rise for our people, and especially with the climate change and the winter road systems then becoming unreliable. We need to look at this resolution to be implemented. Thank you.
Miigwech, Proxy Frank McKay. So we've had good discussion, some questions. I'm looking around the room, and at this point I'm going to call for question. Resolution is before you. Any opposition to the resolution? Any opposition? I see none. Abstentions? No abstentions. All in favor? Raise your hand. Good, Miigwech. So with that, resolution is carried. Deputy, did you have some more on your agenda? No, you're good? Okay. Thank you very much. So it's now, it's almost 10:30. Reminder, we made some changes to the agenda. We were a little bit behind after yesterday. I know not everybody was here. We provided the revised agenda moving forward. So I'm just going to go through it really quick. Reminder to sign in, chiefs, when you come into the assembly room, sign in at the registration table. So for today, we just did the presentations with Deputy Grand Chief Linklater. Next is going to be policing. We do have Deputy Solicitor General Mario De Tomaso is here. We couldn't adjust the timing on that, so we're going to stick to that. That'll probably take us to lunch. What we're trying to do is we'd like to get caught up, so we're going to hope to take 10 minutes from each agenda item and try and get caught up. This afternoon, 1 o'clock, will probably be the OFNLP presentation. That's going to be in camera. 1:30, the Advisory Council updates. That's the Women's Council, Elders Council, and the Youth Council. Community Wellness at 2:30. Social Services Strategic Advancement with Deputy Grand Chief Narcisse at 3 o'clock. And about 4:30, hopefully around 4 o'clock, the Chief's Open Forum. There was clear direction that we need time for the Chief's Open Forum yesterday, so we're going to allow as much time as you need. On the agenda, we're proposing that we go to about 7:30 this evening. It's going to require a commitment, but I think there's some important discussions to be had. Chief Adlokan is in the back. When I saw him, first thing he did is he rolled up his sleeves. He's rolling up his sleeves, ready for battle, and he's committed, and he's ready to put the work into it. So, plus he's got a Leafs hat on, eh? So he's serious. So we've got a lot of work to do, a lot of important discussion, and we'd like to get right into it, continue on. We're not going to have a break this morning. We'll keep going. So with that, the next agenda item that we're going to go to is policing. So on the agenda that you have leading the discussion topic is Deputy Grand Chief Ajni Beneskam. But what I'm going to do is call upon Grand Chief Fiddler, and then call upon Deputy Grand Chief Ajni Beneskam, and then the Board Chair of Anishinaabe Police, Mike Matadawaban. We'll have them make their presentation, and then we will have the Deputy Solicitor General De Tomaso will make his presentation. Following that presentation, we will go in camera. We will be going in camera for a very important discussion in terms of direction and important decision that needs to be made. The Deputy Solicitor General will be standing by out in the hall, of course. And a reminder, we have different sort of tiers, different levels of in-camera. So I'm going to need some direction in terms of who can stay. But I think for sure it's media will need to leave, government officials and industry will need to leave, and the live feed will be turned off. Those chiefs joining by Zoom will stay on, but the live feed's going to be turned off. Again, the purpose of this going in camera is internal strategy. And I tried to say this yesterday, and just to the community members in general that are observing and listening in, it's not, we like to work with full transparency. We'd like to report back to our community members back home. But the reality is when we're dealing with government, and government is back in the back of the room right now, we don't listen to them strategizing in their back rooms. So we have to have an internal session where we're strategizing as well. So that's the person, or that's the reason for going in camera. Just to let folks know that are listening back home. Kanino gewone kimo doesn't jigadek. Exchine dawak sa buwek. Doesn't jigadek gewon. Jamashko gabo nanuk. That's the purpose. So with that, I'm going to invite Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler to come up, and our guests that will be coming. There is room at the front. I think we've got about 4 chairs. If we can have our guests come up as well. So with that, Grand Chief Fiddler.
Miigwech, Adam. Good morning. Good morning, chiefs and delegates, to our leadership and citizens of the Snapbask Nation, everyone in this room, and also those that are joining us online. I hope everyone had a good rest last night. So, the Snapbask Police Service, the board management are here with us this morning to announce a significant milestone that they've reached. I just want to acknowledge Deputy Grand Chief Anabedi Achiepescom, our board chair, the board of directors of NAPS and our management, and also our partners from Ontario for being able to get to where we are able to announce some of that work here this morning. As you know, chiefs, when the Snapbask Police Service began or was announced to begin 30 years ago, it came from the First Nations policing program. And that's exactly what it is. It's a program. It was never designated or deemed to be an essential service. And because of that, our police service have had to work in some very difficult and under challenging circumstances, and our community members as well. They've had to try to somehow make this work. And because we know that NAPS was not obligated, nor were they funded to meet any standards like building codes or to make sure that their vehicles work or their radios work, we've lost people. We have lost community members because of those unsafe conditions. And so before we go a bit further in this announcement, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge those community members that we've lost, because they were someone's loved ones, that they were someone's son and brother or sister. Back in 2006, there was a fire in Saskatchewan. It was just a makeshift facility that they extended to the man office. And it wasn't safe. And a fire broke out, and there were 2 young men that were in jail. in that makeshift facility. Ricardo Wesley and Jamie Goodwin. But because there was no way for them to escape or get out, they perished in that fire. And fast forward 7 years later, in Casablanca Lake, a young girl named Lena Anderson was detained in the back of a vehicle in the wintertime because there was no heat. There was no heat in the detachment in Casablanca. And somehow, during the time that she was in the back of the vehicle while this officer was going somewhere to try to get his partner to help him, Lena took her life. And so, after this happened, we, under the leadership of the former Grand Chief Harvey Esno, issued a public safety notice to both Ontario and Canada, telling them and giving them notice that we can no longer assure community safety, that we can no longer assure our community members that they're going to be safe. And we gave notice that we will no longer sign any funding agreements that are program-based, that we need to work towards creating a police service, a real police service. And so that's the work that has been done over the last almost 8 years now. So I just want to acknowledge everyone that has put in so much work and effort into this. Yesterday, our chair, Adam, he's always updating his Facebook, and he wrote something profound yesterday, maybe while he was waiting for his plane to come out of Sandy Lake. He said, and I'll just quote his words, "Our elders," so quote, "our elders say, we were put here by Manitou to live with our own way of life. We have our own laws and protocols guided by compassion and care," unquote. And so we need to be able to put into practice these words that Adam wrote in the laws that you and your own communities carry. And so while we are able to announce this milestone here today, the work, and I mentioned this to the Ontario officials this morning, that the work needs to carry on so that our own police service can be able to, that they're able to, I'm not sure prosecute's the right word, but they also need to enforce your own laws. Not just the laws of Ontario or Canada, but your own laws as well. And we've seen this happen, we've seen it work. A good example is during COVID, what you put in place to protect your citizens from this dangerous virus that was coming into our territory. You put in measures. And NAPS and OPP and other police services, they had no choice but to follow and abide by those laws that you put in. And so it is possible, it can be done. And so I just want to ask the Deputy Minister, while he's up here addressing this assembly, to commit to that work, that it needs to, I told him this morning, you can take one day, you can take today to celebrate this achievement that we've been able to do together. But that work needs to carry on. And so, while we will take a bit of time to celebrate this, because what this means is that NAPS will, what we call, will get constituted, that it will be deemed an essential service, which means that there will be standards, which means that funding has to be increased for our police service to be able to meet those standards and for your communities as well. So they'll take a bit of time to celebrate, but they need to go back to the table and make sure that the work and the vision that our leadership had when they signed this agreement 30 years ago, that is fulfilled. And so I just want to encourage all of us to remain committed to that vision. So I'll ask my friend and colleague, Deputy Gun Chief Atsi Beskam, to come up and give this announcement.
Chair, first of all, I want to acknowledge the prayer that was shared with us this morning, and the drum, and also acknowledge Kishamaneto for the day that is provided to us. And thank you, Grand Chief, for those comments. I too, I think of those individuals quite often, Ricardo, Jamie, Lena, and others, that suffered our lost lives, including our, our police officers who, during the years that they were serving, because of the challenges that they endured, their life changed. We continue to have high numbers of our police officers that are on sick leave for various reasons. And that is because of the conditions that they have to work with. I know some of our officers sometimes have had to work and not have a vehicle. They've had to work alone for days at a time, days and nights at a time. And I commend those officers, those men and women that served in our communities. That was a great sacrifice. I also acknowledge those men and women that continue to serve and have been serving for many years and have committed to staying with Anishinaabe Police Service, despite the challenges and the standards, inadequate standards that they were working in. I took a few minutes yesterday to look at our mission statement. Like I looked at it, I look at it often, but there's words in there that resonate with me. It says that our police services are to provide a unique, effective, and an efficient and culturally appropriate service. We have not been able to fulfill that mission. I acknowledge the hard work that has been done and the support by our NAN Anishinaabe chiefs who have continued to support and lobby to ensure that our standards are up to par, and we still have a lot of work to do. So I too urge our government partners, the Canadian and the Ontario government, to ensure that they not only sit at the table with us and negotiate but also to respect our ways and to respect our people, to respect those individuals who have committed to serving as police officers and civilians within Anishinaabe Police Service. So Minister, Deputy Minister, we'll have an announcement, but I want us to keep in mind that we still have a lot of work. This is not in any way an instant fix, because we still have a lot of work to do, and our work will continue, and I acknowledge the board that sit with us, that represent you, to ensure that we fulfill that original vision from 30 years ago. So at this time, I thank you very much, and I will now have Chair Mike Matatawaban as well make a few comments. Ichimiwich.
Wajik, Muswe. Good morning. Muswe tagaytaik. Muswe gino gigwa kaytaik abit kanobamyak abit ndohtamek. Gino gumakanak. Nusta gino kaya pat the sistamoyak Muswe nina nanuta. Kaytayak Nishnabyaski Nation. Watche Miswegi Ditino. Watche Mitinam. Anustuma kawi betamagwik, kawi bet wichtamagwik egon. Egoma pega batasun. Egoma pega batasun. Kaisha kuchestano. Chicago wicha hesta get in Niminok. Chicago wicha stanoch. Get the town nach. Heishakas getanoch maga, tutsagatio. Chimaskoga portanoch homa habatason. Wesa, Kina ninime. Monagoiskos to Wenastanon. Kinues kina ni mesimagan. Monoche tepi tagon keguan. Chigioste sokaga borchek. Hanneke kaya patisista he gomeno habatasono. Egon ma beskes wes chigi nohtebanek. Mistahe. Keste mistahe gaitan. I just wanted to say a few words in the language for our people, for our people back home, and for you as well, the leadership, the chiefs. It has taken a while to come to this, to get to this point. It hasn't been easy. Police services is just one aspect, one tool that is available to us to try and work with our people at the community level. Policing is essential, is necessary in our communities. I want to talk about the fact that we live in Ontario, we live in Canada, and we've always been here. And I don't have to tell you that. But the reason why I have to say this is because we have to address this to the province of Ontario, to the government of Canada. They need to have a place for us, recognize us, respect us as people, as individuals, as a nation of people. The fact that amendments were accepted to be made with the Police Services Act is one milestone. The fact that Ontario accepted us to be part of the overall structure, the policing structure, that is a milestone. That is why we put our efforts into coming to where we are today. Believing that policing would help, that policing would help us in deal with our issues, in deal with our many social issues that take place in the community. But sadly, policing is also has taken a beating in the last 10 years or more. Even within our Anishinaabe Nation, our own policing service has taken a beating. And only because we were a program. The terms used back then, and not to be very disrespectful, but they used to call our constables bus drivers. That's the kind of beating we took. We had to endure. And the same happened right across, nationally, globally. Policing took a beating. I guess there is so much to say, so much to talk about. It's taken a while to get to this point where it's a day to celebrate. It's a day to say thank you, to thank the province, to thank the ministers, to thank Cabinet, Treasury Board, or whoever else is involved in this long process, in this long bureaucracy that we've had to navigate, work with. The amendments were necessary to recognize First Nations under the Police Services Act. Before that, we weren't not part of the Police Services Act. We were outside. We were not under the domain. But now those amendments have been changed. Now we are under the domain. And we ask for the same courtesies, privileges, acknowledgements, and likewise, I hope you as well will stand with us and let them know you are here now. You are in. You are here, and you will never go anywhere else. Where else are we going to go? Right now, so far, the only thing they recognize is the resources that we have in our territories. But now Policing Services Act has been amended to recognize us as a people. So that's one step. And hopefully more steps will be taken in that direction to make changes to the laws that they have. So without saying more, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to the board of directors that are here. Thank you to the Mushkego Tribal Council for their ongoing support for myself as their representative to sit on the board. I thank them for that. I just overall thank you, the leadership, for your ongoing support, your unwavering support as we continue to thread these waters to go. It was always like climbing uphill all the way. And but with the support that you bestowed, it made it more easier. It made it more bearable. So with that, just to me west, naskaman. What's it?
Mingwetch, your board chair. So on behalf of the Anishinaabe ASCII leadership, Anishinaabe ASCII executive, and the citizens of Anishinaabe ASCII, we welcome and invite Deputy Minister Mario Di Tomasio to come as a representative of Ontario, as our partner to speak about the next step here, which is to have Anishinaabe ASCII police service become a constituted and service that will fall under the legislation. So, Deputy Minister.
Good morning. Buzu. I'm glad to be here in Thunder Bay once again. The last time I was here was this time last year in February of 2023, and I'm honored to participate in today's discussion with Deputy Grand Chief Anna Betty. And I wanted to thank Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler for inviting the Solicitor General to this very important meeting, following up on his attendance last year. Although he was unable to attend this year as the Deputy Solicitor General of Community Safety in Ontario, I'm pleased to be here with you today. And I would like to begin by acknowledging that the lands that we are on are the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe and the traditional territory of Fort William First Nation, signatory to the Robinson Superior Treaty of 1850. And we do this to affirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relations and reconciliation between nations. I also want to extend my deepest and sincerest condolences to the people of Weenusk First Nation. And I am so very sorry to hear about the residential fire last week that claimed the lives of 2 individuals. And my thoughts are certainly with the people and the community. You may not know, but I was a police officer for 38 and a half years before becoming the Deputy Solicitor General. And so the words of the folks that spoke before me certainly resonate with me, and I certainly acknowledge the importance of policing and the impact that it has on communities and community safety. And I've had the honor to serve as the Deputy Solicitor General for 5.5 years, and as such, I've had the opportunity to witness the incredible and productive conversations around equitable policing for First Nations and for First Nation police services. And we recognize the important role that First Nations policing has in community safety in First Nation communities. First Nations police services, like the Anishinaabe ASCII Police Service, are absolutely critical service providers to ensure your communities are safe. And I recognize and I support that it is essential for First Nations police services to be adequately and equitably funded, a common goal that I know that we all share. Now, we have made important progress over this last year to bring the new legislative framework for First Nations policing that will be available under the Community Safety and Police Act, or CSPA, once in force. And I'm here to confirm that April 1st, 2024 has been proclaimed as the official date on which the Community Safety and Policing Act will come into force. And that is just 7 short weeks away. And I know that the Ontario government has made many communications to the policing sector and to our First Nations partners and to communities at large with regards to the in-force date, April 1st. It will not change. That's when the Act comes into force. Additionally, over the past year, 26 regulations addressing various safety and policing matters were filed to support the CSPA coming into force. And the Ministry of the Solicitor General has worked closely with policing, with justice, community, municipal partners, and certainly First Nations over the last few years through dedicated engagement tables to certainly inform this work. And the partnerships formed through these engagements, including those with First Nations leadership and First Nations policing leaders, absolutely help to inform a CSPA regulatory framework that is reflective of the unique community needs and expectations across the province. And we are also well aware of the operational impacts of the CSPA, and that is why, starting this year, we have increased the training capacity at the Ontario Police College from a 3 intake model to a 4 intake model. In the past, the capacity of the Ontario Police College was just over 1,400 recruits per year. And through the leadership of Minister Kersner and through some tremendous work done by Assistant Deputy Minister Ken Weatherhill and his team, we have managed to increase that capacity from 1,400 to 2,000 recruits per year. And by my calculations, that's roughly a 40% increase. And so we know that NAPS is going to be growing and that NAPS is going to be requiring additional spaces at the Ontario Police College. That is certainly a consideration that we've taken to heart. And so that is just one of the changes at the Ontario Police College. And this government has also made amendments to the CSPA in terms of eliminating the requirement for post-secondary education. We knew that that was a barrier to the effective recruitment of qualified candidates into the policing sector. So that amendment was made, and the requirement for post-secondary education has been eliminated. And further, we are also continuing with the free tuition for policing recruits into the Ontario Police College in order to remove another barrier. And I think that certainly NAPS, with regards to recruiting and having training available at the Ontario Police College, is in a much better place today than they were 1 year ago. And that's due to the unprecedented support for the policing sector by our Premier, Premier Ford, and by our Solicitor General, Michael Kersner. It was under their leadership that these substantial changes at the Ontario Police College took place. And as most of you are aware, once the CSPA is in force, First Nations police services in Ontario, for the first time, will have the opportunity to opt in to the provincial policing legislative framework. And this is a significant milestone towards realizing First Nations police services that can deliver sustainable, adequate, and culturally responsive policing to communities that they serve. Further, to the work within my ministry to support the implementation of the CSPA more broadly, I am also encouraged by the work over the last year with NAN and NAPS on the opt-in process for your communities. We have made substantial progress. And over the last year, in partnership with my ministry, NAPS and the board have accomplished so very much At our last working meeting in November 2023, I got to personally witness the outcomes of all the activities completed to date, including the development of, number one, a staffing model with help from the Ontario Provincial Police to inform NAPS's version of a service delivery model. Number two, a recruitment and retention plan to help ensure NAPS attracts the talented needs and ensure the sustained resourcing of officers. And number three, and most notably, a funding forecast that reflects equitable resourcing to ensure that NAPS can deliver equitable levels of policing to the communities that they serve and that the communities deserve. And I wanted to acknowledge the leadership of Grand Chief Fiddler and Deputy Grand Chief Anna Betty and your respective teams on this very, very important work. And so my compliments on your leadership and to your teams as well. We have accomplished much together. And I'm pleased to share with you today that the provincial government is very supportive of the work done to date to ensure equitable funding is available for NAPS. The province has secured from Treasury Board a negotiating mandate on a potential funding agreement in line with the activities completed to date, and I am encouraged by this milestone and its importance in constituting NAPS under the CSPA. So not only do we have approval from our Treasury Board, which is no small feat, but that decision by NAPS was also endorsed by Cabinet. So we are well on the way. We have much support from the Ontario government. And it is my opinion that we are close to the finish line on this work, and that the partnership over the last 4 years between NAN, NAPS, and the NAPS board and the province is something to be proud of and something to be commended. And these final steps in the opt-in process are critical, and I continue to share my commitment and that of my ministry to support this process in hopes to opt in the NAPS board into the legislation once we finalize any outstanding items. And thank you again for inviting the ministry here with you today. And before I open up the discussion to any questions that you may have, I would like to acknowledge the volume of changes to public policy or legislation at this time that may affect NAN, community safety, or policing needs. It is important to the provincial government that NAN can participate alongside these changes, and that is why, in collaboration with the Ministry of Indigenous Affairs, my ministry has agreed to provide net new funding to NAN to build capacity to address local, provincial, and federal policing, law enforcement related issues, and provide coordinated service to members on and off reserve. And once again, I wanted to commend the leadership of Deputy Grand Chief Anna Betty on the proposal that she put forward. It was very, very compelling, and we certainly agreed to fund that position. And I look forward to our discussion and answering any questions that you may have. Miigwech.
Miigwech. So at this point, the floor is open. Kishpin gegwin wikagwedig, gegwin wikagwijmaik. If you have any questions or comments on the discussion, I see a hand raised. Chief Loon.
Chief Loon here from Mishkigogmang. I got Band Councillor Brenda Fox here. I recognize her to speak.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, good morning. In regards to your presentation there, I'm thankful that you took the time to come and present to us. In regards to the policing, NAPS and OPP, I know that's probably what you oversee. You know, with our remote communities that these policing agencies service, is that the lack of training in terms of what the First Nations are facing in remote. We are having police officers that are rookies, are being sent to a place where I don't know what kind of training that they have, but and also that the lack of mental health services to support those police officers. Not only NAPS, but also OPP. That's what we're facing in our community, because you know, they don't get to know the communities before they leave. They only have a 2-year turnaround. So what happens is that they never really get to know the the communities. There should be models developed for NAN also. This is, we've been asking NAN to come to our community. And also when the board spoke, there should be a turnaround in the board of directors, because there is a lot of ideas that we have, innovative ideas to support our community members in terms of the highway running through our community. And you know what, then it's going to open up the north. So we got to find ways to work with each other. The reason why I'm bringing these questions up to you is because, the training model that these police officers, I don't know what they get, but for some reason, we become the training center for them to move on to another areas. And that's really, it affects our youth, because our youth are the ones that are going to end up with charges. Because a lot of times, like when I was saying that the police don't have time to really get to know the communities, there are families that will help police services in terms of helping de-escalate issues. There's a lot of escalation in police officers when they're dealing with our youth because of the mental health. I think we need to really work together, and I think we've been saying that for a long time already, and we should already be developing models. And as I said, Mishkigogmang is in an area where we can provide that service to really have a model that really addresses the issues that we face, especially, what that really bothers me. What bothers me when I look at these Kenora District Jail and the Thunder Bay Jail here, guess who's going to be in there? Our young people. And and then we say we're going to talk together and help each other. I think it's time to start listening to what the communities are saying. And I think somewhere down the line, the balance of sending young officers with older officers to the remote communities is a must, because it is affecting our youth. I've seen it firsthand, numerous times. So that's my I guess my question to you is that the training that the police officers need to be culturally appropriate when they're being sent to remote communities. Good.
Thank you so very much for your question, and I certainly agree with all your comments. Let's start with the element of training. So when the CSPA does come into force, the training requirements, the standards for training have increased exponentially. And so once NAPS opts into the CSPA and receives the funding that it so desperately needs, it will be held to account in terms of the necessary training for all of its officers. Currently, all police officers as recruits engage in 13 weeks of training at the Ontario Police College. And then after that, they go back to their respective police services for locally specific training. But there's much more work that can be done when it comes to training. And I certainly agree with you that it is very appropriate for older officers, more experienced officers to go into these communities with the new recruits in order to coach them and to be culturally responsive to the needs that they have. With regards to mental health, I can tell you that there is some tremendous support within my ministry in recognizing the mental health challenges that all police officers have. And so there are a number of initiatives underway in terms of funding for mental health initiatives. And there's going to be much more coming down the pipe. I've seen some of the proposals that our ministry is considering. And so there's much more work to be done with respect to the mental health of our young officers. And then when it comes to de-escalation, I can tell you that we've done some tremendous work with regards to de-escalation. At the Ontario Police College, we have developed a brand new curriculum and a brand new use of force model that all recruits are trained on, and that focuses on de-escalation, knowing that there are times when force will have to be used, but the focus is on de-escalation, and I think that that is certainly a good thing as well. Thank you so much for your question.
Chief Wesley, and then Chief Munoz.
I'm going to be all over the place. I'm going to use up the whole 10 minutes for the presentation. I want to go back to 1990. There was a review that occurred, Osnaburg Wendigo Tribal Council review. Evaluating Truth, Justice, and First Nations, as it was called. And the result, the issue was a drunk person by the name of Stanley Shingibis. And because of police force and the result of whatever happened in that particular incident, he became a quadriplegic. But one of the comments that comes out of that review is there was an assurance that interviewed the community of the recommendations such as Stanley Shingibis would not likely be repeated. I'm sorry, it has. It has, and it has continued unabated since 1990, 1998. And in that review, there is ongoing commentary and suggestions about things that need to be fixed in situations like that. Everything that has to do with education, training standards, it's all in there. And this was in 1990. And then subsequently there's been further inquests, the Romeo Wesley inquest that talks about delirium as an example, that should be part of the training standards. I haven't seen that. I was an observer recently, just a couple of weeks ago, where that training standard wasn't evident. This was a mental health call, and I was right there. I observed it. I observed the actions of the OPP, and clearly those training standards haven't been met at all, because they didn't display any of that. And then there's all sorts of other stuff. There's talks about race relations between First Nations municipalities. The only one that ever came to existence as a result of that was the Sulacout Friendship Accord, the Race Relations Committee. It's the only race relations committee that I'm aware of. Policing is just not about policing. It's about community. There's many factors involved in community. There's housing, there's education, there's all sorts of things associated. And this is what we're talking about when we were talking about our justice system. In my First Nation, I require a courthouse. I don't have any facilities, I don't have infrastructure. I need a courthouse where I can bring the incoming judge. We need to look at Justice of the Peace program. I'm willing to be a judge because I already do that. It's part of one of my many portfolios. We don't have commissioners of oaths. We don't have all of these things. This is what we need as part of what when we're talking about justice. Are you willing to go there? And I have one more point. There needs to be a bridge between the provincial justice system and the federal prosecution system. There's only one federal prosecutor right across Canada. How does he expect to enforce First Nation bylaws if there's only one federal prosecutor? We need to have that connect. We need to build a connect. We need to examine how we can create that connect where there's a federal enforcement, federal justice system, along with our provincial map system. And my last comment, congratulations to Anishinaabe Police on the milestone. Gotcha.
All right.
Thank you very much for your question. So I'm able to speak for the Ministry of the Solicitor General in relation to policing. The Ministry of the Attorney General is responsible for the justice system. So I certainly share your frustration, and we do have a collaborative table that is working on the enforcement and prosecution of First Nation bylaws. So that work is ongoing. We are trying to set up an additional meeting very, very shortly on that table to advance the work. We have heard loud and clear the frustration that First Nations community has when it comes to prosecuting First Nation bylaws. That work needs to continue. MAG is at the table, and the ministry is at the table as well. So much more needs to be done, and I acknowledge that. Having said that, I know that enforcement of First Nation bylaws has actually taken place. Specifically, Sioux Lookout Detachment, they've laid a number of charges with regards to First Nation bylaws. And with regards to prosecuting First Nation bylaws, I know that the Ministry of the Attorney General and Canada are certainly at the table, and they have provided $1 million in funding to provide for First Nations to hire their own private prosecutors. And what we want to do is come up with a system and a model that is informed by data. And we want to be able to roll that out. So we acknowledge your frustration. We acknowledge that much, much more work needs to be done, but we are moving forward.
You good, Chief Munoz?
Hello, good morning. Chief Munoz, Niskandaga First Nation. Recently I've been dealing with your legal system, especially with courts and people getting charged. I mean, I call it your legal system. It's not a justice system for us at all because of the your laws, and we've been dealing with those. And I might have missed it when I might have missed it in your presentation or any other discussions that we're talking about NAPS getting legislated. Do you have a timeline, or is there a timeline that it's going to happen, or has it already happened?
So if you're talking about the CSPA, sir, I can tell you that the act will come into force on...
Is it like next week?
On April 1st.
April 1st?
April 1st, 2024, so the CSPA will come into force.
All right, yeah. It's been, but the last time I listened, I think it was last year, there hasn't been any real timelines or anything that wasn't identified. So, I mean, that's why I was asking, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there's more discussion to have on this, actually internal discussion. But if there are any questions? Any more questions? Yeah.
I'm just wondering, well, I'm just feeling like, I think it's about time that our officers have become legislated, which seems a bit surprised. I'm not very familiar with how it works, but I am surprised that they're finally legislated. I always figured that they were legislated, but I guess I was wrong. Only because NAPS officers go to the same training as any police officer in Ontario, right? They go to the whole 13 weeks. The only difference between our officers is they don't have that. I don't think they do, but they don't have that 4 weeks training before they enter the training. That needs to happen. And and my question is, they're now will be entering legislation in April. What does that mean?
So let me clarify that for you. The Community Safety and Policing Act will come into force on April 1st. One of the provisions of the Act will enable NAPS through Council to apply to constitute the board. That application has to be approved by the minister. So I would say we are close to the finish line. There is one outstanding item that needs to be approved, and I take it once you folks go in camera, you will be discussing just that. There's one item that has not yet been resolved, but I am confident that it will be resolved. I have to say that I was speaking earlier to your counsel, Mr. Julian Faulkner, and he made a very, very compelling case. And I'm confident that we will resolve that issue. We will be taking it back and giving it due consideration. But at the end of the day, if we can agree on what is required to constitute the NAPS board so that it can be approved by the minister. I'm confident that we can get that done by April 1st. All that to say is that the NAPS board is not yet constituted. There's one small matter, well, I'm not so sure that it's small, but we have to resolve that issue. And if we can resolve it, then a recommendation will be made to the minister to approve the request on behalf of the NAPS board to constitute it as a board and to constitute NAPS as a service as well.
Chair, can I recognize Theo Friday,
Grand
Grand
Chief.
Chief, to speak?
Mingus, Andre, abisisi ko New Yemen. Ayaw lumamit tunente na mistake ko na nasyonal mutsagatik. Utago sigma. Ayaw maga nui pakitinete maga hiten taman. Ayaw manananas komunista kigon ngabetamanus anus kaya menano. I just wanted to say a few and a question maybe about the things that I heard during my use as a counselor and leader in the past many years. I think that believing at the beginning of this discussion back in 1981, I recall when the police officers were talked about to become our officers in the communities. And I always think that and understood from my leader back then, the chief, that he was talking about that we will become a self-governing body as a community. And speaking of police officers back then, that they will become First Nations officers, and that will have the autonomy as a chief and the governance of its community. And I think for me, thinking about that, I think maybe talking to my elders where are things at right now with the policing, and I think we need to do more. I think we got our program, policing program, into legislated and becomes a real governing policing. But I think we need to involve in the justice system, because what I see with the policing of Anishinaabe Nation and the policing of the OPP, there need to be a lot of training and need a lot of understanding. You know, I don't know when was this, I don't know why why the government of Canada and Ontario doesn't recognize our bylaws in the community. And we're only using the law from the Ontario. And I think it would be better to really establish ourselves to build our own justice system in each of the community. The reason I kept saying community, because the government came to us in each of our settlement back in the day, and they signed a treaty that was already pre-typed, pre-prepared, and the government talked about all kinds of things to the people of my leaders back in that day. And believing that there was some written documents, diaries, noted what was said. And this is why I wanted to believe that my elder always talked about that discussion, that meeting back when the commissioners came around. And they were told this, and I really believe that this will happen. Economize your community, and not only in your community, do what you do before outside your community. And I don't think at that time our elders, our leaders back then did surrender their land or their people. And I think for me to believe the idea this governing policing, I think we need to have more autonomy, power, in order to have a good governing policing, in order to make it better and to work in our communities. And because of the land and the reserve that I talked about, they will not only work right in the community, right in the reserve, but they will also work out in the land because of the winter road and all the things that happen outside the reserve. And this is why I am talking about the idea that we should become our own governing bodies in the communities. And people like our elders are worried about what we're doing with these corporations outside their communities and in the cities that we are building in. So I think they are saying that a lot of services and the funding is leaking out to the city instead of their community. But I don't know, but we are beginning to talk about our idea to build our justice system in the Muskego region. And I met with one of the deputy ministers already in speaking about the idea what I just said. And he told me that we will have a justice table for you as a Muskego region to build your justice governing in your area. But not only that, but chief wants to be the power and to be the autonomy and to be the top of the community of all the programs that's happening. And that's what I believe in. Mingosh. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I'll try and unpack that as best I can. So in regards to an independent justice system, I can only speak for the Ministry of the Solicitor General, where policing is part of that justice system. And all I can say is that it is my hope that NAPS opts into the Community Safety and Policing Act, because with that comes increased standards, increased training, mandatory training, increased funding for everything from salary dollars to vehicles, to operations, to infrastructure. So I think at the end of the day, all of your communities will be better served by having the opt-in take place, hopefully by April 1st, such that the funding can flow to ensure that you have policing service that delivers adequate and effective policing, just like every other community in Ontario. I think it's, I'm very supportive, and I think it's essential that adequate and effective policing be delivered right across Ontario, especially for First Nations policing, because in the past they have been inadequately resourced, and that's something that I certainly acknowledge, and that's something that I want to see changed. Thank you so much for your question.
I'll add to that.
One more question for you. I raised my hand before?
Yep.
Yeah,
Just-
so the,
Chief Munoz, so as part of the response to Grand
All right,
Chief Friday,
okay, yeah.
Grand Chief has a...
I don't want to be cut off.
Yeah, we'll come back to you.
Yeah, miigwech, Chief, Grand Chief Friday, for your comments and the important point that you made about making NAPS to make it our own police service, that it needs to be uniquely ours. And that's the very first meeting that we had with Ontario and Canada officials when we began this journey in 2015, 2016. We made it very clear to them that we are not interested, our mission is we don't want to create another OPP or a municipal police service. We conveyed to them the vision that our leadership had and our people had when they signed this agreement in 1992-93, that they had a vision in terms of what the Shabasky Police Service needs to be. That it needs to be uniquely ours, a police service that is grounded in our community, that is grounded in our culture, our teachings, in our own laws. And so while we are announcing to you today this significant milestone, we still have ways to go. And so I share with you, and I expect you to be at future assemblies to keep reminding the board and the government officials that are here that that's where we need to go, and to hold us accountable to this work. And so I just want to thank you for being here, Grand Chief Friday, reminding us of those things that we need to be striving for and we need to be working towards. So, miigwech.
Miigwech. So two more, and then we need to go into an internal discussion. So I'm going to go to Chief Munoz and then Chief Gagnon.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you this question. So anyway, so while I have your attention, I figured I'd ask, or I may never get a chance again. So anyway, over the holidays, we lost a youth here in Thunder Bay. We have called the police, we reported it, and there was no response. And the youth went missing on December 13th. And then on December 16th, we were, right throughout that time, we were doing our searches. On December 16th, I went to this area where this youth was missing, where she went missing. And no police there, nobody responded, nobody came to see us, nobody came to see the family. You know, that's how Thunder Bay, that's how we get treated here in Thunder Bay. There's no response, lack of response, and there's not only in Shandaga. It's almost for every community that comes here, every citizen from NAN that comes here. We get mistreated. There's no response. We don't get the respect. What are you prepared to do to Thunder Bay Police to make sure they are accountable and responsible, and they shoot and they make sure they respond to those calls that they receive? What are you prepared to do?
Thank you for your question. So under the new Community Safety and Policing Act, we have a brand new entity that has been created, and that is called the Office of the Inspector General of Policing. Brand new office, first in Canada. And what that individual, Ryan Teschner, the Inspector General of Policing, will have significant authorities to inspect police services going forward to make sure that they are actually providing adequate and effective policing services. So in the situation that you described, Thunder Bay is not providing said service adequately and effectively, and it is not acceptable. So based on information that the Inspector General of Policing would have, that Inspector General could launch an inspection and an investigation on Thunder Bay Police and then issue orders to the Thunder Bay Police Services Board and to the Thunder Bay Police Services to improve service delivery with respect to the complaint that has been made. So that is substantial authority to the Inspector General of Policing that will oversee policing in Ontario. And this individual will have the ability to issue orders to a police service board. So one of the typical examples we see and we hear is that certain police services are not able to provide a speedy response to priority 1 calls. The Inspector General, after an investigation, will have the ability to order a police service board to increase service delivery so that that service delivery meets the adequate and effective standard. And that is a substantial improvement over the model that we currently have under the Policing Services Act. That is what this government is prepared to do. That is what I'm prepared to do.
So how early is that going to happen?
April 1st, 2024.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Promise?
I promise.
All right.
It's happening.
Miigwech, Chief Munoz, Chief Gagnon.
Yeah, good morning, Chief Sonny Gagnon, Maryland First Nation. It's just, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm glad that the NAPs and the training and all that is, it's all good, but and then you're talking about adequate delivery services and all that. The frustration I have in my community is that with all the training, you can train them to the highest level. But, I have problems in my community with drugs, alcohol, especially drugs. And we know the trap houses. We know who they are. We report them to the police. But the problem is, police don't execute nothing, absolutely nothing. And, and it's been like this for years now. I've heard somebody say 30 years we were like this, and I just can't go on another 30 years, with that kind of situation. I think something needs to be done more to look at, okay, if you're training officers, fine, train them, but you have to get them to go inside these houses and confiscate what is killing our youth. And it's very damaging because I got people wandering around the streets looking like zombies because of drug issues. So that's my concern is that how do you get your officers to go to a house and to raid it or just to take the drugs away from the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So presently, I know that my ministry funds the Anishinaabe Police Service to the tune of roughly, I'm not sure, $2 million, and I stand to be corrected on that, for a drug enforcement unit. As the new CSPA rolls into force on April 1st, and as NAPS is constituted as a new board subject to the minister's regulation and approval, more funding will flow. There will be enhanced training requirements under the CSPA of all officers, including Anishinaabe Police Service officers, and there will be more funding to increase drug enforcement, to increase criminal investigations, to increase investigations into intimate partner violence. So all of these things will be enhanced with the provision of increased funding through the provision of the CSPA. So I think it's a good news story, and I think that much more needs to be done. But we are making some tremendous progress, and you have my assurance that with NAPS opting into the CSPA, that the funding will make a bigger and better police service serving your communities.
Miigwech. Okay, I see 2 more hands up. So just to let you know, we have a very important decision to make internally. We're going to kick out the deputy solicitor and make a decision. So, but I'm going to have 2 more hands that have been raised. So if we can be clear, concise, to the point, so he can hear you, and then we'll get to our internal discussion. I don't know whose hand went up first. Nibenam.
Bonjour. My name is Michael Sugarhead Ogumakan of Nibenam First Nation. I just want to say that, with this thing is a good step towards reconciliation. There still needs to be a lot of work done from the ministry and both levels of government. And one thing that needs to be really promoted in this thing is the elimination of discrimination and prejudicism within our First Nations people. What are you going to do to provide those, to market that, to engage that, not only to your officers, but to public? You know, I can use a lot of examples where you know, the public and the police only enforce the interests of non-Indigenous people. And no matter what the occurrence is, you know, it's the First Nation people is the one that, you know, that is left on the street. You know, and that needs to stop, and it starts from the top with the government. You know, and policing is very important, that security and safety in the community. And how can we feel safe with a police force like Thunder Bay or anywhere else, or any individual that comes with a badge? You know, they're not there for my safety, they're there for your safety. You know, I went to a hockey tournament with youth this week, and you should see the amount of police presence that was there. I go to a different hockey tournament with a local team from Thunder Bay, let's say to Sault Ste. Marie, and I don't see the same presence of the police officers there. So this discrimination has to stop amongst your cavalry. And it has to start with you and your government. And that's what I demand. You know, to be seen as an equal person. You know, to get those services, that safety that I need. Because, you know, from personal experience, in my younger days, I get an altercation. I get attacked. And I'm the one who gets in trouble. They're the one that put me in jail, even though I didn't initiate anything. You know, and they listen to the officers instead of me. And those things need to stop. And it will continue unless the public does something. And you're a public figure. And you should stand by us. You know, and all these frustrations and all these accumulative effects from the implications of government trickles down to our youth. And you ask why our youth is like that, why they're so into drugs, why they're angry, and all these things is from the implications of government and the lack of resources, you know, in all aspects of life. And we still being continued to be deprived of these things today. The lack of funding, infrastructure, housing, everything, and policing as well. Even our detachment, as our Grand Chief has explained in some communities. Oh, and that is the reconciliation that we need to see as peoples and as communities. You know, and this whole country, Ontario and Canada, their economic land base is based on First Nation land. And we don't get any type of incentives or any type of funding from anything, any resources that you took on us, that you stole from us. And that is also the reconciliation that we need. You know, and I demand from you to have that, you know, discrimination and prejudice, you know, address that. And make sure it keeps going on, you know, even after you leave your office. You know, that's a statement I wanted to make. Good.
Thank you for your statement. I certainly acknowledge all the trauma that you have felt. With reference to Thunder Bay, we are all aware of the problems of Thunder Bay Police Services had over the years, but progress has been made there as well. We have a brand new Chief of Police who is of Indigenous background, if I'm not mistaken. We have a new Police Services Board. We've had an administrator embedded in the Police Services Board to make sure that appropriate decisions have been made. And so much change has and will continue to be made with Thunder Bay Police Services. When this new CSPA comes into force, there will be additional oversight by way of the Inspector General of Policing overseeing the operations of Thunder Bay Police Services. And that's a good thing. With regards to the discrimination that you spoke about earlier, I can tell you that within the Community Safety and Policing Act, there are many provisions that deal with training of all participants in the policing sector, whether you're a member of the board, whether you're a chief of police, whether you're a special constable, whether you're a frontline officer, and that training has to do with elimination of racism, training on human rights, training on the Indigenous histories of First Nations people. So lots of good things are happening in that space. And this is why we refer to the CSPA as a milestone. It is substantial. It is substantial in terms of training, and it is substantial in terms of funding, and it is substantial in terms of accountability for our police officers that from time to time misbehave. So this is a good news story, and I certainly hear all that you said, and you have my commitment from me that I will do all I can to eliminate discrimination from the policing sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Kagem.
Good morning. I think I heard somebody ask this question about courthouses. So now that this legislation is going into April 1st, I'm just wondering, do we now qualify to get courthouses built in our communities? Currently, we have to close down offices or whatever just to accommodate your court system?
So thank you for your question. The short answer is under the CSPA, no. The CSPA deals with the policing sector, and so the funding proposal that has been put forward for us to consider and approved by Treasury Board has to do with infrastructure. That infrastructure deals with police detachments, not courthouses. It's the Ministry of the Attorney General that deals with the provision of courthouses and the judiciary and prosecution. So I'm not here to speak about courthouses. That is simply not within my jurisdiction, but thank you so much for your question.
There was one more hand that went up. Chief Taylor, again, Chiefs, can you please stay in the room? We're going to need quorum for the next section, internal. So I hate to cut off chiefs, but there's one more. Chief Taylor.
Yeah, thanks. This is Chief Taylor from Ganagamin First Nation. Our community is policed by Anishinaabe Police Services. So my question is, will the Anishinaabe Police Services have the ability to opt in? As you had said, there's an opt-in clause. That is something that I think that should be looked at Anishinaabe Police Service level, because I share the same frustrations as a lot of the chiefs that are sitting here. Chief Sunny had brought up the drug trafficking and those types of things that are happening in our communities. And a lot of our, like with our Anishinaabe Police Service, there is no drug enforcement team or of any sort, because there's just no funding. So that's a big concern for us in our First Nation, and that's the question that I had. Much.
Thank you for your question, Chief. The ministry would certainly welcome an application from an Anishinaabe Police Service to opt into the CSPA. And once we receive that application and a funding proposal to opt in, we would certainly consider it. And we can certainly make our ministry staff available to further discuss what is involved in applying and putting forth a funding proposal. And you certainly have the experience of NAPS and NAN to be able to guide you in what that process is over and above that. So we would certainly welcome an application, and we would give it the utmost attention and diligence to make sure that there is an opportunity for you to opt into the CSPA.
Thank you very much, Miigwech, to the Deputy Solicitor General. He will be standing by out in the hall. This message, actually, what I'd like to say first of all is to those folks listening back home, our NAN members that are listening back home. We value full transparency. It's important that you know what's happening at these discussions. It's very important. But the reality is sometimes we have to make decisions, discussions, where we do not want government listening. That's an internal NAN matter. The only way we can do that is call for in-camera, which means we shut things down and we turn off the live feed and we ask the members of government to leave. So that's the only way we can deal with that. If you are a NAN member, you can stay. If you are a NAN member, if you're affiliated with NAPS, you can stay. But at this point, we'd like to go in camera. We unfortunately have to turn off the live feed. Those chiefs joining on Zoom can stay, but basically all NAN members can stay. If you're affiliated with Anishinaabe Police, you can stay. So we need to go in camera. I need a mover from the floor to go in camera. Can I have a mover? Okay, mover, Chief Black, thank you. Any opposition to going in camera? I see none, so we will now be in camera. Can I have confirmation that the